Today is May 30th, 2015. Joining us on the porch this morning are guests from previous shows in Outtakes and Bloopers.
The best place for family. What are you waiting for? Where friendships run deeper. Come join us on the porch. So glad you're on the porch.
This week on the porch, as we are nearing our 6th month of running this radio show, we will be sharing a few of our favorite moments, a few bloopers, and a few things that didn't make the cut the first time around. On each show, we try to highlight one local musician and one member of the community working to make Central New York a more exciting and beautiful place to live. The format of the show begins with our host, Matthew Wood, sharing some sort of wild adventure where he found one or both of our guests. Here are a few of the places we've traveled over the last few months.
Yeah, that's right. You're here for another fantastic episode of On the Porch Radio Hour. I'm your host, Matthew Wood. And that was weird for me because I've never introduced myself before. I'm going to try that again. I'm your host, Matthew Wood. Feels better every time. And you know what else feels good? It feels good that we have Lisa Davis and Anastasia Polashensky in the house. I sometimes get sidetracked because we're getting close to spring. I believe it anyway. And there are some animals that believe it too. And I was watching some birds fly around, and I sat down on the edge of the roof to pull some water out of my backpack when I saw what I thought at the time seemed like a larger than normal bird fly, just out of my periphery. So I spun real quick, and as I spun to look at the bird, I kicked the ladder, and the ladder fell. And so there I was, sitting on this roof of a 3-story building in the middle of Oswego. Usually I tell a story about how our guests made it to us, but this week's a little different because I actually went to our guest. I was sent on a recruiting mission, and I ended up in Aspen, Colorado. So as soon as I stepped out of Steamers, I was going to walk right up to Zinc because it's right around the corner. And one thing a lot of people don't know is that Gina and I used to live right around the corner from there as well on 4th Street. And so we're fairly familiar with the area. And as I stepped out of Steamers, I was caught in a moment. And I was listening, just standing in the middle of Steamers parking lot. And I knew right away where Glenn was and why he wasn't at that promotion and tourism meeting. Glenn was stuck almost in the same kind of moment that I was. He took his tie off, and he cut it in half lengthwise, so now he had 2 strips of material. Took his rackets and bound them to his feet like snowshoes and started trekking from Rochester along the snowbanks along 104. You're following me into this. And I showed her into this, what I thought was a supply closet, and we go, and now we're trekking through more snow and over snowbanks with my groceries and my Lakota music, and there's a goat man and a lamppost, and I was like, what on holy mackerel? And I put my snowblower into high gear and flew by them, and then I snowblowed their path, thinking that they were entranced because the snow was so heavy and they didn't want to get their feet wet. So I snowblowed this path, forgetting about this giant glowing orb of light until we got inside. And they shook off the snow, and there before me was standing Jim Forfaya, Gregory Rossblock, and our audience. And all of that to say, I'm really glad that they're on the show and that they accepted their invitations on napkins and coasters, and so anyway, we'll be able to interview them later, and it'll be a lot of fun. So I want to welcome Donna and Deanna to the show. And Donna, you're on the porch.
One of my favorite parts of the radio show is getting the opportunity to perform a song with our musical guest. Sometimes we have plenty of time to practice, but more often we run through the song just a few times before the show starts. However, when we hosted Gary Carpentier, we picked a song to perform right before the show started and didn't even run through it before we went live.
This will be fun.
Uh-huh.
I'm excited.
We can do a second take if we
Good.
need to.
That's probably going to happen. It's definitely going to happen.
As excited as I am.
Yeah.
I don't even know the third verse though, so.
Okay. I'll hold it over.
Cool.
It's the
Oh no, that's the sometimes.
that's a bridge.
Yeah.
Okay, so then there's
Oh no, there's only 3 verses. Okay.
So how do you want to do it? You want me to try to harmonize?
Sure. Yeah, we can do it either way.
On-
Doesn't matter.
on the third
So we'll
verse?
go. Well, do you want me to sing it or do you want to sing it? You can just sing it. You how about?
No. Let me sing a harmony part.
Okay. All right. Cool. Sweet. Let's do it.
We may have to do it twice.
Yeah, that's fine. We'll figure it out. What is it? Sometimes I wake up in my dreams soaking wet and a freight train running in the middle of my head. And,
Yeah.
you cool my desire. The last one.
That's one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's
Yeah.
right. That's right. You got it.
Cool. We'll figure it out.
Yep. I don't know the bridge though, so you're a.
No,
you're
I'm just
gonna go
play
straight
it.
into.
Yeah.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
All right. Here we
We're
go.
going.
Hey little girl, is your daddy home? Did he go and leave you all alone? No, I got a bad desire. So I'm on fire. And oh, I'm on fire.
Tell me now, baby, is he good to you? Can he do the things that I do? I can take you higher. Oh, I'm on fire. Oh, I'm on fire.
Tonight I wake up from my dreams soaking wet and the freight train running through the middle of my head. Oh, you cool my desire. Oh, I'm on fire. Oh, I'm on fire. Oh, I'm on fire. Oh, I'm on fire. I'm on fire. I'm on fire. I'm on fire. I'm on fire.
That was awesome. That was so sick. I'm so pumped right now.
Thank you.
Good. Not bad for just throwing it right together.
Yeah, that was
I'm
awesome.
pretty stoked right now.
was awesome. That's fun.
That was awesome. Because I was like, I don't.
And now, a word from this week's sponsor. It was 1887 when John Richard Dedicoat, a British inventor, patented the bicycle bell. Constructed with a small handle lever which rotates several gears that rapidly rotate two metal discs that would very quickly rattle and strike the external housing of the unit, makes the bicycle bell a very simple device. Why do we keep the bicycle bell exclusively for the bicycle? Don't we all agree it should be used in other venues? Well, the answer to this is simply no. Because the bicycle bell is used as an important signaling device. With the green movement, more and more people are turning to bicycles as their major mode of transportation. We need to be able to signal pedestrians and other bikers to our presence. The bicycle bell is an important communication device that must be taken seriously and utilized. Bicycle bells have been on bicycles since 1887. So you know that they are good, and you know that they work, and that people love them. Not only do people love them, but people need them. You need a bicycle bell. I'd like to quote the band Queen here and tell you to hop on your bikes and ride. Because I want to bicycle, bicycle, bicycle. I want to ride my bike. And ring my bell, of course. So, join the largest movement in the world. Use a bicycle bell. The bike bell is so powerful that in other countries where they're all riding bikes, you can walk up behind a group of people on the sidewalk and ring a bicycle bell. Even if you're not on a bike, you could just be walking down the sidewalk and ring your bicycle bell. And it is such a powerful signal that everybody moves to the side to let you through. That's what bicycle bells do. They create change. They make movement. People step aside for those of us using bicycle bells. I dare say that people that use bicycle bells are more important. And I think that ringing a bicycle bell and everybody that's walking steps to the side proves that those of us that use bicycle bells are more important. So again, folks, I encourage you to listen. Listen closely and step aside when you hear that bell. Or get yourself a bicycle. And more importantly, deck it out with a really nice bell. And people will start to move out of the way for you. Enjoy your power, enjoy your bicycle bell, and enjoy this radio show that's brought to you by Bicycle Bells.
And then there are times when we put our guests on the spot and ask them to do a little improving. This particular one was a part of our Valentine's Day show, which ended up a little too long to put this particular skit in.
What?
How do you feel about improv?
What do you think, Jim?
Sure.
Totally into it, right?
Let's do it.
Let's do
Yeah?
it. Yeah.
All right. So here's the
Get up there too.
Here's the thing.
Oh, now you're gonna put me with the writer. Oh, that's not fair.
Now you're gonna put me with the singer.
That's right. Improv.
So the idea is that I was writing this short of two fishermen in a boat, and they went out and they were hanging out and they started talking, and it ended up you end up learning that they're like trying to express in very manly subliminal ways that they love each other. That they're very good friends and they're very glad to be out fishing, even though neither one of them are interested in fishing. They just wanted to hang out.
Sure.
And so now there's four of us in the boat. But so that's kind of like
Okay, so there's a couple other.
that's kind of like the idea. Yeah, so it's all four of us.
So who's falling in love?
We all are.
We all are?
We all are.
We all are?
Sure.
Okay.
And it's just
That's fine.
So we're all just
Valentine's Day, man.
What kind of love is this?
what's the word? Platonic?
Platonic.
All right.
Brotherly
Brotherly love.
Brotherly. Bro love.
Yeah, we're in the boat of brotherly love.
Kind of awkward.
Am I on? Jim, are you much of a fisherman?
Never been before.
Okay.
But to hang out with you guys, I'd do anything.
Yeah. Yeah, to pardon the pun, I'm kind of in the same boat. You know, I'm not much of a fisherman.
You and I are on the same line then.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
I'm hooked.
Jim, we have to get serious.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Greg.
All right. How deep is the water here, Greg? Do you know?
It's pretty deep. But I'd say right here, probably a good 30 feet.
Oh, wow. That is deep.
There are some big lunkers on the bottom of this lake.
What's a lunker?
It's whatever you want it to be, Jim.
Yeah.
I'm cool with that.
Guys, I'm feeling like there's some tension here. I'm feeling like our trip is getting a bit scaly.
There's one last thing I want to say before we head to shore. I've had a really lovely time with you guys, and even though we never actually even cast out...
Forgot that part.
Yeah. When I lay down in bed tonight, I'm going to be thinking about you guys, and I'm really glad that we've had this experience. And even though the sun is setting on the horizon, it's never going to set on this day in my heart. So thank you for being here.
Hey guys, what happened with all the fish? Did we even catch any?
No, we didn't, Ruby. No, we didn't.
Through On the Porch, we meet so many different people doing amazing things within our community. It is exciting to be a part of an area where people are committed to making it an incredible place to live.
So for the last 6 months, Amy Birdsell has been the Planning and Zoning Director for the City of Oswego. She has been working on numerous projects, improving all sorts of cool things in the city. And I want to welcome you to the show. Welcome, Amy. Yeah, thanks for being here.
The city's got great bones.
Yeah, it does.
It does. And we're on a beautiful lake that might as well be an ocean. We have some of the best sunsets in the world. We've got a beautiful river. We've got historic architecture. We've got wonderful people that create a beautiful community.
For 25 years, Greg Mills has lived and worked in Oswego County. And for the last year and a half, he's been the executive director for the Greater Oswego-Fulton Chamber of Commerce. And I also hear that he's a really good helper. Welcome to the show, Greg.
Thanks, Matthew. Appreciate it.
Nope.
It's actually only been a half a year. You know, and what's really kind of neat is that there are people that are moving to Oswego and moving to Fulton and moving to Oswego County that are seeing the treasure that exists here.
That's right.
And engaging with people that live here. And then there's what I really think is the word that exemplifies what's going on with the personality of our communities is people are gaining confidence.
Right.
And I think over time, because businesses left, things deteriorated, something happened, people started to lose faith.
Mm-hmm.
But now the Renaissance Association, what they're doing is matching funds. $1,000 you invest, $1,000 they'll invest.
Right.
$2,000 into a home, that's not a lot of money, but you paint your front porch, you put flowers out, and all of a sudden the neighborhood becomes, hey, wow, look what they did.
That's right.
Let's do that. 14 homes in a block, do something together.
Yeah.
And then the people are like, hey, well, look what's going on there. And that creates momentum, and that momentum is what we're going to build on, we're going to encourage, and we're going to try to reinforce to get people to say this community can be better, and we can be a part of that improvement.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I would like to welcome, what's your last name, Colleen?
Grimshaw.
I would like to welcome Colleen Grimshaw to the show today. Colleen is from Fulton, FYI, Fulton for your information, and she's going to tell us about what Fulton FYI is about and what they're doing and all the cool things that are happening in this area and that FYI is working to promote.
We joined together. We have this organization, this group. We meet once a month, and we are in the process of getting together to have speakers to get the information out. What good things are going on in our community? How can we bring people together to show our community off in a good light?
We'll be back for more On the Porch memories after a short break. What's happening in Central New York is brought to us by iHeart Oswego. The Oswego YMCA hosts a Father's Day picnic on Friday, June 5th from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Call 342-6082 for more information. The Not Too Far From Home comedy tour comes to the American Foundry in Oswego on June 6th at 8 p.m. The show features comedians Jarwan Nelson, Brad Todd, and Dave Cooperman. Proceeds benefit the Rotary Club. Call 342-2332 for more information. SUNY Oswego's Penfield Library hosts a book sale Friday, June 5th from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. and Saturday, June 6th from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Visit www.oswego.edu/library/book sale for more information. Cat on a Hot Tin Roof opens June 12th at the CNY Playhouse. Visit cnyplayhouse.com for more information. The Oswego Music Hall hosts Natalia Zuckerman tonight at 7:30 p.m. And the Music Hall's season finale with headliner Jory Nash will be Saturday, June 13, beginning at 4:30 p.m. Visit oswegomusichall.org for more information. The CNY Arts Center hosts a Writers Cafe the last Sunday of the month, with the next session tomorrow. The Arts Center is also currently offering adult painting classes and writing classes. Visit cnyartscenter.com for more information. The Red Room sessions at the Wooden Apple Farmstead are a time for songwriters, musicians, and anyone else who wants to build their musical skill and knowledge to get together. We share songs we are working on, bounce musical ideas off each other, and we usually have time to just play a little music. This is a supportive environment where all levels of songwriting and musical experience are welcome. The next session is tomorrow at 6 p.m. In January, Gypsy Windwalker was one of our musical guests on the porch. This month, Gypsy passed away. We are honored to have known him and would like to share one of the songs he performed on the porch.
All right. We're going to hear something from Gina and Gypsy.
I knew a man Bojangles and he danced for you. Worn out shoes with silver hair, a ragged shirt, and baggy pants. The old soft shoe. He jumped so high, jumped so high. Then he lightly touched down.
I met him in a cell in New Orleans. I was down and out. He looked at me to be the eyes of his. Spoke right out. He talked of life. He talked of life. Slapped the gloves and stepped. Mr. Bojangles, Mr. Bojangles, Mr. Bojangles, Mr. Bojangles dance.
He said his name Bojangles and he danced a lick across the cell. He grabbed his pants and spread his stance. Oh, he jumped so high, and then he clicked his heels. He let go a laugh, let go a laugh, and shook back his clothes all around.
Mr. Bojangles, Mr. Bojangles, Mr. Bojangles, Mr. Bojangles dance. He danced for those at minstrel shows and county fairs throughout the South. Spoke tears of 15 years, I was dogging him. He traveled about. The dog up and died, he up and died. After 20 years, he still grieves. Mr. Bojangles, Mr. Bojangles, Mr. Bojangles, Mr. Bojangles dance. Said I danced out every chance in honky-tonks for drinks and tips. And most of the time I spent behind these county bars, 'cause I drinks a bit. He shook his head and then shook his head. I heard someone ask him, please. Mr. Bojangles, Mr. Bojangles, Mr. Bojangles, Mr. Bojangles dance.
I knew a man Bojangles and he danced for you. And then there are skits like this one that took a turn that no one was expecting.
Oh, I need my notes.
You ready?
Yeah. I
Max,
have like one thing
am I on?
down, so I guess that's
Okay.
plenty.
Yeah. Wink, wink. Tired of facts? Everything too black and white? Ready for some gray in your life? Get ready for theories of life. Did it not come through?
There was a statement that said simply, if you drilled a hole all the way through the earth and you fell in, it would take you precisely 42 minutes and 12 seconds to get to the other side. And my first thought was, wow, that's incredible. I can't imagine falling for 42 minutes and 12 seconds. And then that same voice that tells me about the restale theory comes in and says, yo, brother, think about this. You're not making it to the other side because of this thing we call gravity. If I drill a hole all the way to the other side of the earth and I start to fall and I make it halfway through the earth and I cross that line, I'm going to fall back to the other side because gravity comes in. If somebody from the other side of the earth jumped into that hole and I jumped into that hole on my side of the earth, we'd never hit each other because we would stop right there and we would just hover and we wouldn't fall anywhere because gravity's happening right at the middle of Earth. And if we switch sides, that's all that would happen. We'd have to climb out. So the cookies and the chips can sit next to each other. And they can switch sides all they want, but they're not going to go stale. Because, yeah, I know. This is life, man. Like, this is what's happening. This is what's happening. And so, have a party. Don't worry about drilling a hole through the earth. Just set the chips next to the cookies. Keep them safe. Keep them edible. And keep it real. That's Matthew Wood bringing you Theories of Life, my friends. Sleep on that.
And then there are times when the guest musicians jump in and play with my songs. Here's John McConnell adding his incredible guitar skills to the show we recorded at the Coffee Connection in Oswego.
It's okay to be real. It's okay to heal. It's okay to get lost sometimes. Where you end up may have a better feel. It's okay to be wrong. It's okay to be strong. It's okay if your lonely heart wants to sing out a different song. 'Cause I need you, and I need me too. When I'm alone, I just sing this song to remind me what I must do. La la la, la la la, la la la. I love you, and I love me too. It's okay to grow. It's okay not to know. It's okay to show your heart to someone who needs to know. It's okay to leave. It's okay to grieve. It's okay to trust yourself to know what you believe. 'Cause I need you, and I need me too. To remind me what I must do. La la la, la la la, la la la. I love you, and I love me quiet. It's okay to be private. It's okay that you're lost this time in the middle of this night. 'Cause I need you, and I need me too. When I'm alone, I pray that this song will remind me what I must do. La la la, la la la, la la la. I love you, and I love me too. La la la, la la la, la la la. I love you, and I love me too. I love me too, and I love me too. I love me too. La la la.
On the Porch would not be complete without a visit to Tonkahogan, that town stuck between Canada and the United States, not a part of either, and just trying to find its place in the world. We thought we would take you back once again to the origins of this little town.
So it was October 25th, 1765. Just a couple years after the end of what's known as the French Indian War, or to some folks, the 7 Years' War. And there was a group of those French Indians that were now displaced. The French and the Indians that were fighting together had been marrying one another, trappers from France and women and men from Native American tribes were getting married and were fighting in that 7 Years' War. And when it was over, they had no place to be. They had no place to go. They didn't know where they belonged. And so they started traveling French Indian nomads across the North American continent trying to find a place to call home. On their journey, this one particular group would stop someplace, and their elected leader, or chosen leader, would stop and look around, and they would all look and wonder and ask, "Is this our home?" And he would just drop his head and keep walking. And this went on for a long time, until on that day, they were walking through the woods, and they came up over the top of this hill. And as they came up over the top of the hill, it just broke, and the sky opened, and below them was this magnificent valley. And in that valley was the most crystal clear, most pristine, most gorgeous lake they had ever set eyes on. And they all stopped, and they all lined up on the edge of that ridge, and they all held their breath, and they looked from the lake to their leader, back to the lake, back to each other, and they wondered, and they waited. And part of the lake was covered by the tree line that they were standing near, and they didn't have a good view of it. And out from behind that tree line floated the most majestic swan they had ever laid their eyes on. Now, these people knew the land, and they knew the animals that lived in the land, but they'd never seen anything like this before. The swan was enormous, and it just floated. And it was like every beam of light that was touching them left and just swarmed and gathered around this swan. And in that moment they all knew, but they held their breath, and they looked to their leader, and they said, "Is this our home?" And they stood in silence. And just then, as they were waiting, their leader smiled, and they watched his gaze as it went from them back to the swan. And around the bottom of the swan, the water started to ripple, and then it started to boil, and then it erupted, and this gigantic, that doesn't even cover it, this enormous fish just flew out of the water. And as the story goes, if you took a salmon and a catfish and mated them, this was their child. This giant cat salmon flying out of the water, and all of the light that had surrounded that swan left, and it just opened. And as the cat salmon came back down, it entered the water. The most gorgeous dive that could never be duplicated by any Olympic swimmer or diver. The water never moved, and the fish just disappeared. And so did the swan. In one swallow. And they all looked at their leader, and all their hope left. And he pointed at the lake, and he smiled, and he said, "This is our home." Now we fast forward 235 years later, where that village is still there, and the people of Tonkahogen still tell that story. Well, they have to. Their town is named after that fish. Tonkahogen, in that native language of the people that founded this town, means big fish. And so the local school has a mascot, which is a giant cat salmon. And every year they have a festival for the people, so that they can get together and they can remember why they're there, and that they have a home, and that they belong somewhere. Because nowhere else do they belong. What does it even mean to be French Indian? You hear that question all the time. This is what we are. We're French Indian. But what does that mean? How did we get here? And they're not part of the Canadian country, and they're not part of the American country. They're just there, on the line, in between. If you zoomed in to where they live in Tonkahogen, to that border, and if you really zoomed in on a map where that line that separates the U.S. from Canada, and it gets bigger and bigger and blacker, and you could erase some of that line, Tonkahogen is right there, covered by the border on that map. But they carry on, and they live their lives because they're from Tonkahogen. But they have a chief. He's not a mayor, and he's not elected. It's just the elder of the town. People look to him. And he was getting discouraged because it felt like people were starting to lose that love for their town. The signs that they kept so freshly cleaned and painted every year, that as you enter any part of the town on any road, those signs read, "This is my home. This is what they do. This is how they live." And he felt like they were getting discouraged. And so he went on a vision quest of sorts. And he ended up in Ohio. And in Ohio, he was there and he was meeting with other French Indian communities. And he was trying to figure out how they do it and how they feel like they belong somewhere. And the answer was always the same: we really don't. And while he was in Ohio, he decided to go out because people talk at bars and he wanted to hear the stories. And so as he was walking to a bar to hear some stories, he walked past a small venue where there was a tiny sign. And on that sign it said, "Tonight, live, one night only, Dave Carter and Tracy Grammer." Now, he'd heard of Dave Carter and Tracy Grammer, so he thought he'd go inside. And they played the most beautiful song he'd ever heard. And he remembered that this is what he needed. He remembered why he came down and why he was on this trip, so he went back home. And once he got home, he heard a lot of stories. And he himself got discouraged, and he never told anybody about his experience. Until July 20th, somebody called him on the phone from Massachusetts. And they had heard that he was looking for that story, and that he had had that connection in Ohio, and that he never did anything with it. And this person called from Massachusetts and said, "Dave Carter and Tracy Grammer were in town. And Dave died yesterday of a massive heart attack. And I know that you had a really strong connection to that song, and I thought you should know." So the next day, Chief went out into town, and he called all the people together. And they all gathered around, and he told that story. And ever since he told that story, every night, when the people of Tonkahogen go to bed, whenever they sit around the dinner table and get ready to eat together, whenever they have one of their festivals or a town meeting, and they all stand up and they hold hands, and it gets silent, so that for miles and miles beyond the town borders, all you can hear is the town song. "This is my home. This is my only home. This is the only sacred ground that I have ever known. Should I stray in the dark night alone, rock me, goddess, in the gentle arms of Eden. Rock me, goddess, in the gentle arms of Eden."
Hope you enjoyed looking back with us on our first 5 months of On the Porch. We hope you join us next week on the Porch with special guest Bob Green.
On the Porch is a production of the Wooden Apple Farmstead, with host Matthew Wood. Our sound technicians are Maxwell Wood and Gina Holsapple. Our musical director is Gina Holsapple. Our stage manager is Ray Monet. Find information about past shows, being on the porch, and much more online at ontheporch.weebly.com.